Next thing you know, I got a call from Tyler Perry Studios. Then I got a call from GQ Magazine. I got a call from JCPenney's with Shaquille O'Neal. You're not a designer just by doing T-shirts. You're a graphic artist. That's what I was when I started. Where I am now, I'm a designer because I know how to do patterns. I know touches of fabrics. I know thread counts. And all of that I had to learn. You can get where you want to go, but you have to believe in yourself. If you trust in yourself and know yourself and believe in your ability, you can go a lot of places.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Chat with Nick. We have Tony Dennis, also known as the Stitch Doctor. He is a fashion designer and oh my gosh, he's looking so spiffy right now. He is the very first neighbor that I have on the show, and I'm so grateful that he's here with us today. First of all, thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad
to be here. We've been talking about this, and we've been with both our busy schedules. I finally made it.
What's the moment you said to yourself, I am going to do this no matter what?
Oh, wow. That is such a good question, Mick. Oh, man. I think the first time when I knew that this is what I wanted to do was back in 1990. I remember I used to work for this company called Escalator Handrail Company. And we used to play around with ink to paint handrails. We used to have to cover the handrails with different type of rubber compound. And when we used to do all this work, we would get splashes all over our pants and our shirts. And I'd take it home to my grandmother because, she wanted to make sure I go to work being clean, but the rubber wouldn't come off. So my clothes would be clean, but I have rubber marks on my jeans and so forth. And what I did was we used to go to Toronto. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and we used to go to Toronto a lot. Back in my younger days, I was like 20, 21. And when we used to go to Toronto, we used to like to go to like parties and stuff, but we used to be like a little crew, not a gang. Not a gang, people. We were just a crew. And I used to make us T-shirts, but I would make us T-shirts out of the rubber compound from the job. I would steal it, a little bit of compound stuff. I don't want to say steal it. I would use it. There we go. And I would break it down into a rubber compound and put it like into a squeeze jar, and I'll make us T-shirts saying like, I like house music and TikTok, you don't stop. Another shirt was we dance all night long. And it'll just be on some white T-shirts and it'll be like kind of moist if you do something like bleachy. And everybody used to like our shirts. And that's what got me into making shirts.
You would take something that was already there and make it into something, right?
No, we just would get plain T-shirts, and I would make the shirts in my grandmother's basement, dry them in the backyard, dry like 9. Each shirt was different because, we didn't have no silk screen. I didn't even know what that was then. And I would make us all shirts, and like I'd make us 3 that says TikTok, you don't stop. 3 would say, I dance all night long, and another 3 will be TikTok, you don't stop, and they'll just be laid out in my grandmother's backyard in the sun to bake it into the shirt, and I'll do it like on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then we're leaving out on Friday to go to Canada, and we'll stay up there for the weekend wearing our T-shirts around. It'd be like 4 of us, and we go out to the parties, and girls used to like the shirts and be like, oh, I like your shirts. And, and then my boys used to like it because they get attention. So that's when I started making shirts.
That is so cool. And were you inspired by what you saw on TV? Because I know during that time, MTV was still going on.
MTV was going on. But I wasn't really inspired by that. I was inspired by just meeting girls and me and my friends going out. And we'll have little towels in our back pocket. I still carry the towel today. Tell my homeboys back in Buffalo, we know about the towel. Because when we sweat, we want to wipe ourselves off. And we have on white shirts and I have our logos on it. So I was more inspired by us just having camaraderie amongst ourselves, and we just all were unique. Yeah, that's what got me into it. And it's funny how I got into it, how it transformed into something even better after that. The job that I was working for, the Escalator Handrail Company job, had an offer to send someone to Iowa to open up a brand new plant. And I was the youngest one at the job with the least seniority, and nobody wanted to go to Iowa. Everybody was like, oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And I didn't apply for the job because I didn't think that I would get the job. I'm the lowest, like the last employee. I think I was there for like a year and a half. And there were people there like 6, 7 years at the plant. It was a small plant making handrails. It's probably like a total of us, like maybe 15 of us, because it'd be like 5 per shift, the morning shift, the mid shift, and the night shift. And the boss came to me one day and says, hey, I need someone to go on this project. I would like it for it to be you. If you take the opportunity, you'll bypass everybody in this plant. When you come back, you'll be the highest employee. So they sent me to Toronto for 2 months of training. And then they sent me to Oshawa in Canada to the headquarters for like 6 months of training, exclusive handrail training. And then they shipped me off to Iowa. And I was there for like 12 years. And when I went to Iowa, I missed my friends in Buffalo because we were so tight. And we used to hang out so much, like every day. I met this girl. I met a woman in Toronto, my last day in Toronto. And I went to Toronto, and I used to call her and be like, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do over here. I'm so miserable. And she'd be like, well, and then I said, too, I said, there is no clubs. I can't go dancing. I can't, nothing. And she was like, well, you should stay in the house anyways and draw, because I went to school for art. And I said, okay. So I started drawing. She said, I'm going to come see you. When I get over there, you better have some drawings to show me. So I would draw every night, Mick, right? And I had my whole house full up of just drawings of just things that I was thinking of, inspiration. And about 3 months went by, and then she came to visit me in Iowa, and she was blown away. And she was just like, oh, your art is so beautiful. Your drawings are so nice. And she was like, we got to do something with them. And I was like, what? Well, I don't know, how to sell anything. I'm not really into selling or marketing. She says, she saw me with one of my TikTok shirts on, and also while she was with me, I had another shirt with like Malcolm X on it or something. And she says, that's it. You should take your drawings and put them on T-shirts. And I was like, I don't know how to I can't do these kind of drawings off the squeeze bottle like a mustard thing to make detailed T-shirts. And she says, no, we should do a silk screening. And I was like, what is that? She says, well, we got the phone book out, and that's when the phone book was in. And she found some silk screeners, and we went to go visit them, and I showed them my drawings, and they said, yeah, we could make your T-shirts for you. And that's when I started my T-shirt company, which is now No Names Designs, and which stands for us as Black people being robbed of our identity, because a lot of my T-shirts went into the struggles that we were going through back in the 90s, like, the Rodney King era, just equality and, and stuff like that. So No Name stood for us, speaking of the struggles.
Would you say that you were inspired by the female characters that were in your life?
I would definitely say I was very much influenced through females, yes. I do recognize that a lot of things are due to women, the beauty of a woman. I was raised by my grandmother and my grandfather and my mother. I grew up at my grandmother's house, my grandmother and my grandfather's house, roughly to say. My mother was the last of 6 of her children to leave the house, and she had siblings, 2 brothers and 4 sisters. So I was very much influenced by females. And I was raised by my grandfather, who was very loving and loved his woman, my grandmother. So, yes, I will say that. And I would also say, if it wouldn't have been for Sharon, Sharon was the woman I met in Toronto who helped inspire me to pursue my art and my creativity. I probably wouldn't be here today. And also, too, later down in the line, if we speak on it, my second wife, Morgana, she brought out my inner confidence. So women very much influenced my life.
Going back further, when you were a child, what kind of support system did you have? Did you take art classes back then? Were you allowed to be as expressive and creative back when you were a child?
Well, when I was a child, I was raised by my mother and my siblings. I mean, I'm sorry, not my siblings, but my mother and her siblings, because I was raised at my grandmother's house. My father died when I was 9 years old, and he had brothers and sisters, but my aunt, his sister, lived like right down the street from me. So the reason why I am here is because my mother and my father were neighbors, like me and you, and they had, met, had a courtship, and they had me. And my mother, the reason how she met my father, because her best friend was my father's sister. And so, yes, I definitely say I was influenced that way. But the one thing with me is I came up in an era where, I wasn't the most studious of children. I didn't really know much about reading and writing. Everybody around me just went to work and go outside. Just go outside, Tony. And I would just go outside and play. But my aunts would come over. They saw that I had a talent like my father. He was an artist. And they saw that I could draw really well. I could draw in the backyard with chalks and pencils. I could paint. And so they put me into schools, from grammar school and even in high school, that had very high art instructors. So I went to a grammar schools that had very high art instructors. And luckily, by me not even being that great of a student, I got accepted to go to McKinley High School for the art. And I went there, and that helped really, really enhance my creativity with art.
Before you worked at the handrail place, what were your dreams? Did you intend to become something like doctors or lawyers or pilots? Did you have any kind of aspiration to be something else?
Only aspiration I had, to be honest with you, was to be a football player. I played high school. I played pee-wee football, high school football, and college football. So I thought I was going to go pro. I'm a pretty tall guy. I made all city. I made honorable mention, all Western New York in football. So I had really inspirations to go to school for football. But what's funny, I got scholarships for art. But I went to the art schools with my mother to go visit the schools: New York Institute of Technology, Rochester Institute of Technology. But one, there weren't really no girls there. And there are a lot of, how can I put it without offending anyone? It was just a lot of, it wasn't no girls there. It was just a lot of boys on boys.
There were no girls
it was more
there were
gay
no girls
people
that
there.
you were interested in.
Yeah, there was no girls I was interested in. And it was this, at the time I grew up, was at a time when gay was more taboo-ish. I just could put it like that. It was a taboo time, and I didn't really know nothing about that, and I was a little afraid of it. So, I just wanted to play football. And also, too, the art schools didn't have no football team. So that just blew me away right there. I was like, I don't want to go to these schools. So I had some scholarships to go to some Division I schools and Division II, but my grades wouldn't let me in. So I had to go to a JUCO school. I'm sorry, a Division III school to go play football. I went there freshman year, got kicked out of school. I was a kind of a bad kid. I started doing some things on campus, not going to class. They had an art program at the school. The art program to me was lame because the high school I went to art for, what they were teaching in college, I was already advanced in.
Yeah, you're much, much more
Oh,
advanced.
way much more advanced. And me and our teacher wouldn't get along because he was teaching us how to shade, and I already knew how to shade. He wanted to teach me about art history, about all these different artists that are dead in history who started art, and that didn't inspire me or interest me. Only thing I wanted to do was play football and try to get to a Division I school so I can get recognized and probably make it to the NFL. That's what I was. And then when I got kicked out of school, I went home and I got the job at the Escalator Hammer Company, my first job.
That kind of led you to discover who you really are, like what you really wanted. Did you even know that that's what you wanted at that point?
No, I didn't really, to tell the truth. That's you asking such beautiful questions, making me think. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just wanted to be a good guy. I thought I would be like my grandfather. You know, he didn't have much education. My grandmother had like an 8th grade education, from what I was told. My grandfather's education level, I think, was like a 3rd grade. But he had the job. He worked at the plant. He worked at General Motors. So he started at General Motors, I think, as a janitor, and went all the way up to being like working on. He made it to the assembly line. So with me, the same thing. I'm thinking, you know, I'm not an A student. I got a job. I'm making good money. And I'm growing in this company, and I just want to find a woman and start my family and do like my grandfather, you know, and you know, take care of her and take care of myself. That was my whole inspiration I thought of, because I knew I wasn't the studious kid. Like for a long time, because I didn't have confidence, I would be more afraid to be around anyone who was educated or talking big words. So I would be afraid of being around them. But then until I got to doing the art and doing my T-shirts and then doing trade shows and then doing events and having manufacturers and having financial institutions want to invest in me, you know, I started learning and speaking and reading and doing more stuff, learning to be more educated.
When you were in Iowa, you mentioned earlier that your art and what you actually put on the shirts had something to do with what was going on politically during that time, or things that happened in the past. You happened to put it on the art,
Yes.
on the shirts, right?
No names, yes.
What were your experiences like as you were honoring the African American experience through no name design? What were your personal experiences with that? What made you want to honor those experiences?
Well, growing up African American in a house, in a church family house too. Like my grandfather, he was on the usher board. My grandmother was I can't remember the name of them, but the ladies would be in the front with the white on. The Nurses Guild, I think they're called. They would come and we'd have dinner at the house, and a lot of my other aunts and uncles, some of them were into the church, some of them weren't, but we would all sit down and you could hear stories. Just the stories of the church and stories of the neighborhood, stories of somebody got beat up by some white people, Caucasians, or someone, because we grew up in Buffalo, New York, and Buffalo is very segregated. You know, you got the blacks over here on the east side, the west side is mostly multicultural, north and south is Jews, Polacks, and another side is just white people. So it's very segregated. And just even growing up hearing stories, 'cause I'm a little one. I'm the youngest, one of the youngest, not the youngest of my grandmother's children, grandmother's siblings, but I was very young, and I would just sit there and listen, hear stories of my grandparents. My grandmother, her only job she had, she tried to get a job. She couldn't get jobs at this time. This was back in the 70s. She got to be a maid. And while she would come home, she wouldn't come home with no dollars. She'd only come home with the pennies and the dimes and the nickels. They would barely give her quarters. After she bussed a table or she served someone, they would sometimes Caucasians wouldn't even want her to serve them, and a lot of times she would get just coins, and she might make $8, $7 a day, and I will sit there and put them into the penny thing. The back in the day, you take them to the bank and you stack them. It'll be 25 pennies will go into a stack, and you roll them up, and nickels, quarters. She always had the stacks that you put your change in, and every now and then I would see $1, and sometimes she'll tell my grandfather, another waitress they gave her the $1 that my grandmother busted the table for, served the table and broke the table down, but the lady was a friend of hers at work and be like, no, you take this $1. This is for you. You did a good job. Instead of me taking it, you take it home. So my grandmother didn't really make much money. My grandfather was the breadwinner. So going through that and just hearing those stories, and then also to my grandfather, wasn't very educated. So he would get his stories about at work, how people would abuse him at work, talk down to him. But he couldn't do much. Even like my grandmother, she couldn't do much because they have kids at home. You have to take this, this type of abuse, and then also too, when I'm little, coming home sometimes from school, the bus would pass me by, splash me, the driver, we knew what it was as the kids because, but he wouldn't stop at our bus stop. He would go to the next stop. 'Cause that's where the Caucasians would be at. But, they'll splash us with the slush because we're outside, Also,
Did you feel like you needed to have some kind of expression and put those into your artwork, into your shirts, like those microaggressions?
Yes. That's why when I look back at my portfolio, some of the messages is of expression because No Names Designs is about expressing us as Black people being robbed of our identity. It's not just it's not because I couldn't come up with a name for the brand. No Names is as us as Black people. We were once slaves, and that was taken away from us. So my heritage, and most African Americans, even to this day, don't know their history. We can only go but so far, maybe to a slave's name. That's why a lot of us are named Johnson, Williams, or even Dennis, because we came from those plantations. So a lot of my drawings that I drew, I don't even know why I was into it at the time. I just was drawing about slavery and about a lot of stuff, and then also too, I drew about us becoming together. Like I had one shirt, Together We Can Stop Racism. It had a black hand and a white hand holding hands. Had another one that was about expression of the violence, and it read peace. It had a peace sign of a hand, and it said it's not a black thing or a white thing, it's a us thing. We must stop the violence because us killing us is going to get us nowhere. Peace. And then it said peace, no names. So it wasn't just always about just blacks, like us. I did have nooses. I had us chains, show hands of people in chains. And this was at a time when we were kind of afraid to speak out and be expressive because you couldn't be expressive like through media because we didn't have social media. You couldn't be on TV talking about this. But we could wear our T-shirts and go out to parties and go out in the public, and people would love it.
Was this during the early 90s?
Early 90s. I started No Names in 1992. Yeah, I started at that job 1990.
You were in Iowa for 12 years,
Yes.
right? what was your progression in Iowa like? What was your progress like from someone who's designing and finally putting it on shirts for everyone to see?
Really, that's even interesting too. And I'm thinking back to it. Iowa, it was just me and her. It was me. After Sharon came from Toronto, I would go back and forth to New York. I would drive 12 hours almost every other weekend, go to Buffalo.
You missed it that much.
Oh, yes, because over in Iowa, there's no blacks. It was like I thought Buffalo was segregated. Iowa is probably like a little 2 blocks or 4 blocks of just an area of black people. And I would go over there, hang out with them. But the one thing I just worked at the plant because I taught everybody how to make handrails. It was some Korean people there that came. There was an old man named Mr. Tung. I miss him even dearly to this day. Also, too, Mr. Fox, white guy with red hair. A lot of old people, low income, that we hired to work at this plant. But I was trained to train them, like to build a building, to build a hydraulic press, all of this stuff. So they depended on me. So I would work the first shift, then I worked the night shift, and spend time with my lady that I met in Toronto. Like I said, she moved over to Iowa with me. She didn't want to, but she wanted to be with me, so she came to Iowa, and we started up a life. But we used to just be on the road so much, and we got into the circuit that she helped me inquire about, because after we made the shirts, I didn't know. I where are we gonna sell these shirts at? And I'm the type that, we'll just pop the trunk. We're gonna go over there to the black neighborhood where it's like only maybe 30 people, and we gonna just pop the trunk and sell over there. She was like, no, we're not gonna do that. She gave me structure. She said we're gonna set up a college tour, and we're gonna go around to all the colleges in the neighborhood. We got the phone book out. We circled every college. We called the college and got in touch with the student union or the Black Student Union, and we went there on Fridays and set up a table, and I would sell my shirts. And then from there, a kid came up to me and said, yo, I'm from Chicago. Chicago's not far from Iowa. He says, I went home and I went to some store, and the guy wanted to know where I got these shirts, where I got my shirt at. And he gave me his name of his store. The store was called The Bug Factory. Next thing you know, I got in touch with The Bug Factory. Next thing you know, he ordered like 60 shirts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was selling them in Chicago. And then he kept ordering and kept ordering. And I was like, oh, we started, And he told me about another store on another side of Chicago, one of his friends. So I started selling him shirts. And then he brought up something about the Black Expo. It's this event where they have all these different vendors come and they sell clothes and shirts and jewelry, sunglasses, hats, paintings, artists, all this. So we went to the first one in Kansas City. I never forget, I went over there. They broke into my car, stole half of our merchandise.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and that's so funny because I'm thinking I'm from Buffalo. Oh, Kansas City. I'm thinking ain't nothing worse than Buffalo. That's what in my mind. I'm like, ain't nothing worse than Buffalo. Not thinking that it's worse areas everywhere in the world. And we went over to Kansas City, got our car stuff broken into, and I was ready to give up on the circuit. And we sold some stuff at Kansas City, and I never forget this lady said to me, who was sitting across from us at another booth, they weren't even selling like I was. And they told my wife, Sharon, they said, you guys got something. We're going to the next city. And she was like, where's that at? And that was Indiana. She says, you guys got to go to Indiana. You guys got to go. So we went back home, got some more shirts, and we went to Indiana and sold out. And ever since then, we kept going to different cities. We went to Chicago. We went to Gary, Indiana again. We went to New York City. We went down to Atlanta. We just was going places just on the road. That was my real inspiration. And Iowa was just like a place I can just go back and just design and draw, do my little stuff, do my creativity. Sharon was the one running the books, doing all of the behind the scenes stuff, getting in contact with different events. And I would just draw, and work with the silk screeners, the embroidery house people, and I'll be at the plant. And then we'll get in the road. We're either going to drive back to Buffalo or go to Toronto, or we're going to some other place.
You were almost everywhere because you were doing the road tour,
Yes.
right? You were in trade expos
Yep.
and
Yep, trade
all
expos.
those festivals. You were learning about business and how to set up one.
Yes, I was learning. Yes, I was learning business. Yes, I did learn business, but I left that responsibility more on her because she couldn't work. She's Canadian. So you got to, she couldn't, you got to have papers and all of this stuff. And the government wasn't just letting you come in, because there's a lot of fraud. Then you marry someone just so that they could become a citizen. So she couldn't work, and she had education. She had her degree. She had her master's, actually. But what I was learning was how to do business behind the scenes. I wasn't so much into the dealing with the banks and the loans and the taxes and so forth. I was more like going to the silk screen house, hanging out with him. He's so behind because I got so many orders. I'm helping him make T-shirts. He's showing me how to do silk screening. I'm learning different techniques. And one of the things to it too is that I wanted my shirts to be very professional. Like I didn't like having Fruit of the Looms or Gildan or Hanes in the back of my shirt. So we would take the name out and we would take it to this lady, Miss Mary, and she would sew the tags in.
You had your own label at that point.
Well, I got the labels, but yeah, I had my own label, yeah. But I would have her sew it on the shirts because I wanted the shirt to say no names on it. Besides we had our logo with no names, but we might have a shirt with the black hand and the white hand, right? And so I would just make sure that we put the tag on it. I had this lady named Miss Mary who was sewing the tags in. But what was funny, she was charging us like $2 to sew a label in, and I'm doing like hundreds of shirts. So my wife was like, you know what, we're going to go buy a sewing machine, and we'll start sewing the tags in ourselves. I seen what she did, and I think we could do it. I used to help my mother sew when she was younger. I said, okay. So, she gets the sewing machine from a Goodwill or something. We got a little cheap machine. And she was sewing, but I was always waiting on her. And I used to get frustrated, like, man, you're so slow. And so she said, well, you think you know it, you do it then. I said, show me how to do it. And she showed me how to do it. Next thing you know, I was rocking and rolling. I'm sewing, I'm up all night, all day. I go to the plant, come home, sew the tags into the shirts. Throw them. I had a little method. I'll sew here, throw them over my back into the couch or something behind me, and then I know when I'm done, I'll fold them and put them in the boxes in front of me. And I would do my goal would be like if I got 6 boxes and each box has 72 shirts in it, my goal would be like I'm gonna try to do all of them in one night. I'll get off at 3. I'll start sewing at about 5, and I'll be up to like 11. 12 at night, just sewing tags in. Cut the tag out, sew it. I'll cut all the tags out first, and I'll just start sewing it. Because the sewing part, to me, would be the easy part.
You became like your own assembly line.
Yep, my own assembly line. Yep, sewing. And then after I started sewing tags in, the shirts, I started playing around with the machine more. Because I'm sewing so much, I know the machine. So it's just, you sew a straight line, and I said, no, you got to sew stuff. Next thing you know, can you hem my dress? Can you, do this little stuff? And then people at the job be like, oh, you sew, Stitch? Well, they didn't call me Stitch, but they called me Tony. You sew, Tony? Can you, my wife or my kids' shirt needs this? So I started sewing little stuff around for them. And then all of a sudden, she got kind of frustrated and was like, I don't like Iowa. There's no black people over here. We got to go around our culture. And this was right when the Olympics was starting. And she was like, we got to go to Atlanta. And I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave the plant. I didn't want to leave Iowa. I didn't. And even to this day, I think about it like, man, what would ever happen if I'd have stayed there? But yeah, we left Iowa and we went to Atlanta, and I opened up my own store over there.
Atlanta is the hub of the South. That's where everyone congregates from all the other southern states. And they go there. It's almost like the cosmopolitan area of the South.
I didn't want to go there though. I was scared.
What was over there back then? You have like Martin Luther King's house. There's like all these historical stuff in Atlanta. But during that time, I'm assuming it's not as diverse.
Was becoming very diverse into the African American culture. One, they have a lot of universities down there. They have
Yeah.
the Spelman, Clark, Morehouse, and it was called I forget what it was called, the something AC something, Black Student College Center or something like that. So there's a lot of blacks that were living there because they went to college there. So it started becoming a black town. When we went there, I'd never seen nothing like that. Like everywhere we went, it was black people. I'm talking about you drove 4 miles, you're still seeing black people. And I was like, wow, this is different. It was a little too much for me because I've always felt wherever it's just too much of something, something's not right. Something can happen. So I wasn't really too enthused about staying in Atlanta. I didn't really want to be over there too much, but I learned to grow over there. Me and her separated over there in Atlanta. Like I said, I gave up my lifestyle, my job, and we separated. I went and started my own store, and that was the No Name store or shop, whatever you want to call it. I always call it studio. I had my own studio, No Name Studio, and I opened that up in 95, 96, right before the Olympics. Did very, very well, and closed that place down in 2000.
You had the store about 5, 6 years?
5 years, about 5 years, No Names.
At that point, were you doing other types of merchandise? Were you actually
I
sewing
wasn't really
patterns?
sewing. Then I was still doing the No Name. It was the No Name T-shirt, but it was more of a brand. I would get hats. I would sew the tag on. I would buy shirts like this, take their tag out. I might get it from Walmart. Put No Names in there. I go buy 6 of them, hang them on the rack, make it look like it's a brand. You know, my mind was a little bit more advanced. Besides just, my mind became more advanced and just started seeing just being a T-shirt brand. Especially being on the road doing trade shows, I'm seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeing guys who got T-shirts, but they got sweatshirts that I know they bought at the mall or they bought at some guy's place, and they're putting the tag in it. So as long as I had the tags, I'm doing good. So I started putting tags on hats, putting tags, but the way things I were buying was stuff that people didn't have. Like I'll buy, because I'm from Buffalo, so I'll buy things that I've seen in New York City or I've seen in Buffalo, fashion-wise, that they're not wearing in Atlanta. And I'll put my tag on it. And I started selling. That helped me keep afloat. But, you know, I started sewing towards the end of it because a friend of mine who I met, my neighbor, who had a club on the next, like at the corner of my street. He had a fashion model agency above his club called Click Modeling Agency. And they used to throw these parties at his club. And so he says he's having this party and he wanted me to make them all some skimpy little outfits. So I started making them little skimpy little outfits to cover their nipples and cover their private parts. And that got me really into getting more into fashion, designing, sewing, knowing the shape of women. And then I met some other people that sewed and seeing us work at night for a fashion show that's going to be the next day. And we're up all night. So I'm learning. Everything with me is self-taught, everything. And I came a long way.
When you were in Atlanta, did you ever think of really having your own name as a brand, like your own personal brand, not just No Names Design, but who you're known now for your work?
Well, that's what happens. I had to move from that location because Georgia State had bought out my building, and so I had to move. So I moved to this place called Studioplex. That's when I met my second wife, because me and my first wife broke up. So I met my second wife, And I was always kind of shy, you know. My first wife did all the business stuff, so I felt I can only go so far. I'm kind of street, you know. I'm real street. Still want to pop the trunk and be on the corner selling T-shirts. I like dealing with the public. And when I met her, and I did this, I was like doing this fashion show, and I made her. It was my first fashion show with this event called Funk Jazz Cafe, and they had like 3,000 people at this venue. And I never forget, I made her an outfit, and it was like a jumper, and everybody came to the event, but she was late, and I was like, oh, she's not gonna come. Oh, she's not gonna come. And then when she walked in and made her entrance, everybody's like, oh, what the heck? And so she came, she walked the runway, got with the photographers, everything, did a cool thing. But she came to me and told me, they're here to see you. You need to get out of your inner self, trying to be behind the scenes, like boxing up T-shirts and trying to talk on the side. You need to get up there on the runway and stand there and let them know that you're the shit, that you're Tony Dennis, Stitch Doctor. They wasn't even calling me Stitch Doctor, but just letting me know. And I was like, so she grabbed me and pulled me like on the stage. But really, everybody was loving her outfit. And she was like, y'all like this? He made it and all that. She says, you got to be cocky. You got to stop being so scared.
You got to be bold.
You got to be bold, right? And I was never, ever able to be bold. That just wasn't my personality. I'm still kind of shy, but I'm way out of that now because I'm older. But yeah, she got me out of that. And once she got me out of that, because, with everybody who knew me, I'm not bold amongst our friends, but I still think I had that little boy in me that was always wanted to be a designer, but was always felt ashamed because I wasn't so studious. Like I was a kid, like in third grade. I think that's what probably harmed me when I look back at it. When the teacher asked me to read something, and I was stumbling over the words, I didn't know, and everybody started laughing. And so I was always afraid to be that type of. When it came to being in the front of the class or in front of an audience, like I would be like, oh, I'm gonna say something, or I'm gonna fumble. People are gonna laugh at me. And she helped me get over that fear.
You had a store for 5 years, right?
And then I'll open up another one.
But you ended up in California.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. So after that, I started this. After that, me and her, we had children. And when I closed the store, I gave up my no-name artist stuff to stay home, to be a stay-home dad, take care of my babies. And then when the kids got old enough, she was like, you got to get back out there. They want you. The public, the streets, Atlanta, they want you, And I was like, yeah. So I started going out to these, like hanging out with a lot of promoters. I started throwing parties, like not sexual parties. But I throw these parties called the Kiss AM and the Skin Party with my friend who had this club at the corner. And we would throw a party once a month, but it was like a mix of fashion and parties and the craziest, hottest DJs that we could think of. And so I started throwing these parties in Atlanta. I started getting a buzz for people wanting to come to my parties. Like, you going to this designer's party. This guy is a designer from New York. He throws this crazy party. And at the party, the skin party, women would come skimpy, like come with just something covered in it. But it was clean. It wasn't gaudy, like it's a strip club. It was clean. You had to come with something over your Riola or something. Basically, like you come into a party where everybody was coming dressed up, like somehow. That was the thing. And then I had my party called the Kiss AM, and it'll start at 2, and it'll be over at 5. And at
5 a.m.
5 a.m. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it starts at 2 a.m. That's when the club closed. His club will close, and he'll turn it into a late night. But to come to my party, you have to be dressed. Dress code enforced. So next thing you know, celebrities started coming to my parties. Jamie Foxx was coming. Pernell Whitaker, Mike Tyson, Dennis Rodman came with Carmen Electra. It was like,
This
whoa.
was in Atlanta.
This is in
right?
Atlanta. So after that started going on, next thing you know, I used to be working downstairs in my basement making stuff for the party. And my friends would come over to the house, my boys, or even some of her girlfriends will come and we'll be in the basement, downstairs vibing, drinking, listening to music while everybody's over there having a good time. I'm over there in the corner sewing with my babies, maybe on my back, in a little baby holder. And they're over there. And my friends used to always say, man, you over here sewing like a doctor. And I was like, yeah. So they used to call me the doc at first. Everybody was calling me the doc for like a week. And then my friend came and says, man, you be stitching the hell out of that stuff. So it just kind of came up. They started calling me Stitch. And they was like, Stitch Doctor. And that was the birth for that. And everywhere I went, it was like, yo, go to the party. The Stitch Doctor throwing this party. Tony from No Name. So Stitch Doctor, Tony from No Name was putting the two together. And people kept calling me, oh, that's Stitch Doctor. That's the Stitch Doctor. The guy who throws those crazy parties where all the people wearing these crazy outfits. Like, I mean, I'll put like spikes on you. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And we was doing this. And then I just so happened I get a call from somebody who says, yo, this guy has the store that's, he's looking for some people to rent out his store. You should look into that. So I was going to call the store No Names again. And then one day we was downstairs in the basement, and my one friend said, if you do get another store, you should call it Stitches. Because No Names is going to be about blacks and this, and you ain't going to get your consumer to come in. And when you get your store, my friends were all talking to me. You should, one friend from Nigeria says, Puma, shout out to Puma. He says, you should do alterations. You'll always get customers coming in, call it Stitches Tailoring. And that's how I got started with Stitches. And I used to just do alterations. Next thing you know, I got a call from Tyler Perry Studios. Then I got a call from GQ Magazine. I got a call from JCPenney's with Shaquille O'Neal. Everybody was like, you've been highly referred to come work on this, work with us to do some alterations on set. Next thing you know, this lady, Jolene, she calls me to do T-Pain's first video, I'm in Love with a Stripper, and then some other songs. So I started doing videos, all this alterations. So now I'm Tony the Tailor in Atlanta with Stitches. Started doing all of that. So Stitches was just took off. Took off. I was so worried about that shop because
A lot of these things you learned on the job, right?
on the job, I taught myself. I remember the first time I did a hem for Pablo, the guy who had the club. It took me like 6 hours to do one hem because I kept trying to figure out how to do it. Now I could do a hem in 6 minutes, 6 seconds, really. So yeah, but I have to give shout out to my second wife. Her family, they used to sew in New York for Bloomingdale's, and they invited me to come stay with them for I think a month or two in New Jersey. And her aunt and her grandmother taught me how to make suits, taught me how to prep for making hems and all kinds of stuff. Taught me a lot about tailoring. So I give thanks to her and her family for that. And I came back, and right when I came back, I had to do a suit for Pablo for Jamie Foxx, I think, when he just won that award for Ray
Charles.
Yeah, Ray Charles. They had a party for him in Atlanta at the club where I was doing those parties at. But I came back now making suits. He was like, I want you to make me a suit for that, a velour suit for the Jamie Foxx show, for the Jamie Foxx party. Yeah, came a long way.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, that goes into the transformation of how I got to LA. I started making bags.
What was that transition like from making T-shirts to tailoring, making suits, and then now to bags? What made you move over
Into bags?
Yeah, items like bags.
Yeah, well, what happened, I had the tailor shop, and my wife asked me, Morgana, her boss, because she worked in corporate, wanted a laptop bag made. He bought some laptop that was like a 20 by 20, and they didn't have laptop bags, or
That's
24,
big.
that big, a 24, some kind of laptop he had. It was a 24, 20 something, and she was like, he needs to get a bag made. We looked everywhere to find it for him. Can you make it? And she says, I know you can make it. I said, I never made a bag like that. She said, you can do it. I know you can. Go buy the fabric. I'm going to take it to work, let him pick it. Bought the fabric. I made him a laptop bag, but it was kind of tight. And he says, yo, he killed it. He did such a good job. I wanted to make me another one. I used this one for my smaller laptop, but I still need a bigger one. Just tell him to make an inch or two more bigger, and I made him another one. I got it embroidered and so forth, and he loved it. So that was like a year before. So, what happened was I'm still making stuff for the street. I'm making a lot of sweatshirts for promoters, jackets, varsity jackets, jeans for street guys, and for, different types of organizations and gangs and all this stuff. I just I love the culture. I was making stuff for Future, his stylist. I was making stuff for Rick Ross's stylist, making stuff for Young Jeezy's stylist. And these one promoter guys, Rap Juggernaut is his name. He came, and him and his partner, Big Cuz, and their crew came and asked me to make them some promotion street bags, backpacks for South by Southwest. That's this big event in Texas, I think. And they said, we want you to put our logo on it because we want to put our flyers in it and go out and promote the bags all over the place. I mean, promote their rap CDs all over the place. So they did it, came back. I started making other bags for different producers and stuff like that. Then I got a chance to make a bag for 50 cents. I got a chance to make a bag for Drummer Boy. As a big-time music producer. And just while this is going on, a gentleman over here from here that does hats. His name is Tony Ray. I saw him to make some hats for me. And so he just happened to come to Atlanta for a trade show. He came, and we were going to do a hat deal. So he came to my studio and saw my bags on the wall. He was like, yo, ain't nobody doing this, what you doing? Yo, you are like a dime or a quarter in the high grass when everybody's around here looking for some money, but it's a quarter right in front of them, but they can't see it because of the grass. I was like, what you mean? I said, man, I'm doing hats. Everybody in the world's making hats, but ain't nobody making bags, especially the bags the way you're making them. He says, man, can you please let me do your business and let me help make your bags and sell your bags? I said, sure. No, I didn't say sure at first. I said no because I got screwed around. I said, nah. But he says, please. He begged and hollered. And make a long story short, he was over here. I was in Atlanta. We started a bag company called Tote and Carry. Did really well. And he asked me to move over here to help, run operations over here. So I moved and transferred. I said I couldn't move until my daughters all finished school. And after they all finished high school, because I wouldn't leave my daughters, behind in high school. I just couldn't do that. Too much going on. And as soon as I sent my daughter to Florida, St. Thomas University, I dropped her off and I caught the next hottest plane from Florida to LA. And I've been out here ever since.
What year was that?
That was 2021.
Been here in LA for 5 years?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
What are your current projects?
I got my own bag line now. Me and Mr. Ray had fallen out. We're trying to work things out. We'll see. But I had to start my own bag line now. It's Tony Dennis. All I do is design my own everything for Tony Dennis. That's my new venture. That's what I'm doing now. I got my own designs for my own clothing line, my own hat line, of course, my own bag, an accessory line, which I'm very excited about. And I'm
And
gonna start doing parties here too, and I want you to come. I'm gonna do them in my studio. You better come.
I
It's
will
gonna be
be
late
there.
though. It's gonna be late. You might
It's
have
gonna
to.
be like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Oh my god.
Yeah, or I might have to come up here and hang out up here at your place while the event is going on downstairs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, since you've worked with so many different kinds of people, you had so many different kinds of ventures, you're dealing with all kinds of things since you moved to Atlanta. What have you learned from all of those experiences?
Wow, some of the things I have learned is that it's been a long run. I know I've have so many stories that I didn't even have time to talk to you in the podcast about. But I have learned, if you trust in yourself and know yourself and believe in your ability, you can go a lot of places. I never thought that I would make it to live in Los Angeles, live the way I'm living off of just my creativity. I was always, when I was young, afraid because I felt of my studious, my schooling, but not really knowing that it was just confidence. I just didn't have the confidence. I've done many fashion shows. I've been invited to be on Project Runway. I've done fashion shows where I had panels tell me you didn't make your clothes because they look so good. So many stories. I've had fashion shows where women and guys are climbing onto the dog on stage, trying to get to the models. I've done just so many things that I never thought that I would ever imagine doing, but I love that I did accomplish those things. But the one thing when I look back at it was the confidence going into it. I've always used to be afraid to oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. But just to know I've done that. And some of the things that I have done, I have friends of mine who are lawyers, doctors, captains, chiefs of fire departments, state trooper captains, and we still go to Toronto every now and then, and it's lots of times, I would be with them and I wouldn't have the consistent check. I didn't have the money that they was having. And it's lots of times they would say, as we all sit together, because we're all friends, I want to be in their position because they're getting a consistent check, but they want to be in my position and just tell me how proud they are of me and how, and their wives and the kids, everything, like how proud I am, how proud they are of me. And, and they even say, I don't know how you have the guts to get up and do that. I'll be so afraid to do a fashion show or walk in front of 2,000 people or speak or something. I'd be like, yeah, I would have never imagined me getting to this point, but confidence. Yeah, so if anyone wants to be an artist or something, believe in yourself, let you be your own judge.
Going back to the very first question I had, what was that defining moment that led you to believe in yourself, that led you to have that kind of confidence that you have now, that you never had before?
I think it has to definitely be me making those T-shirts in the basement and not knowing if people would like it or not, but my friends liked it. And then after I made the first ones, and we went to Toronto, a whole nother country, and they went bonkers over it. And then coming home, my friends was like, yo, we got to get more T-shirts. We got to get more T-shirts. And I'm making it out of a ketchup bottle thing that you get at the restaurant. Just making it like a ink drawing, I think that's where I gained my confidence from. I really realized that seeing doctors, and like I said, I have friends this doctors, lawyers, and so forth, and they got big education. I'm a college dropout, barely got through high school. But to know those people are coming buying my product, want me to sign the product. I'm only 22 years old, almost got robbed for people just wanting to steal my T-shirts. Like, it's just all of that. Just it inspires me to keep pushing. It inspires me to even tell my kids, you can do it.
What advice would you have for someone who's starting out on their own, like starting a business or a fashion line? There are a lot of people out there who want to be fashion designers or want to have their own products or merchandise out. What would you tell them?
Well, I would have to tell them there's several layers to it if you want to be a designer. You're not a designer just by doing T-shirts. You're a graphic artist. That's what I was when I started. Where I am now, I'm a designer because I know how to do patterns. I know touches of fabrics. I know thread counts. And all of that I had to learn. You can get where you want to go, but you have to believe in yourself. You're going to have so many times you're going to get knocked down. A lot of times people will come around you or you'll go around someone else. You want to be a designer? But you meet your friend. She's a singer and she got people, fans and all this. And guess what you'll do? You'll give up your dreams to be a designer to go chase their dreams. Now you want to sing because you see them getting money or you see the crowd screaming and hollering for them, but not realizing if you stick with what you're doing, you can have the same thing. I've seen it happen so many times. People get so distracted off of someone else's dream. So what I could say is to stick to your dreams, believe in yourself, and if you really want to do it, whatever it is, if it's you want to be a fireman, police officer, a nurse, a designer, a singer, stick to it. It don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of patience. But if you believe in yourself, your dreams will come true. You might not be the big time singer like Beyonce, but guess what? You could still be the singer that's singing at a nightclub, making you some money, and I think you can be satisfied with that.
If people were to look for your stuff, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me at on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at I am Tony Dennis. My website is iamtonydennis.com. Also, too, if you want to find out more about my lifestyle, you can go to The Real Stitch Doctor. That's on Instagram. And you can also, too, go to Facebook, Stitch DOC. That's all my platforms.
Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, Stitch Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
For everyone watching out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And we'll see you in the next episode of Chat with Nick. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon.
This episode is brought to you by Tang and Java. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out.